Okay, welcome back. I just like to mix it up. You look at me like, really?
They don't know what they're listening to.
I was getting there. Starting over.
Okay.
If you couldn't tell.
Okay. Long pause.
Hello and welcome back to Imperfect Parenting with Ipsters and Brittney. I tried to use it in the beginning.
Yeah. Good job.
Ipsters. Thanks.
Mhm. Well, we're here.
How are you, Brittney?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I haven't asked you in a while. So to check in.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's Friday. I'm excited about that.
Literally.
It is.
I was talking to Delaney recently. She's like, today's my Friday. On Wednesday? Yeah, it's my Friday. Isn't that funny how people do that? I get it. I understand why.
Yeah.
It's just funny. Today's actually Friday.
Today's going to be Friday as soon as we're done with this.
This is my Friday.
Yeah. And it is Friday. All right. Well, our meme, speaking of our daughter who is working full time right now, and I showed her this meme. She thought it was pretty funny. It's not fully a parenting meme, but kind of. But she appreciated it because it uses the word adulthood in it, and I thought it was funny. So it's a picture of looks like an iced macchiato.
I was going to say, it's kind of a little bit of a tribute to your old name.
You're going to have to explain that one.
Coffee, Kids, and Crazy.
Oh, I thought you meant like my literal
Silk.
old name. I'm like, I don't see how
Milk.
coffee and silk go together, but maybe my dad really likes coffee.
Silk and milk?
Silky milk. I don't know really what we're doing here.
Sorry, I thought that was a given. In my head, it made sense.
Sure. Coffee,
Continue.
Kids and Crazy.
Adulthood.
That was the podcast name.
Yes.
I get it now. I was too literal.
And we're back.
Yes. So it's a cup of an ice macchiato, and it says coffee, the WD-40 to adulthood. And it just...
When you feel squeaky, get some coffee.
It just was like, WD-40 feels like you put it on everything.
Everything.
Like, it just works. It's just going to make it work better.
It even works on like when your headlight
It's all foggy.
gets all foggy.
Yeah.
Everything.
I don't know
When
why.
your children are talking a lot, just spraying a little bit. I
No,
mean, all this
don't
thing.
do that.
Oh, not that one. Okay.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Just kidding.
I did not approve that message. But I showed it to her. She thought it was funny because she drinks a lot of coffee and she totally gets it. So she's in that. And I think, yeah, we drink a lot of coffee around
Ashley's favorite coffee is iced coffee.
I love iced coffee.
Yep.
There's no other way.
No.
There is, actually. There's a couple of different ways.
Nope.
I feel like there's only two, hot or cold. But
Extra hot?
That's true.
no, we're not they-theming our coffee, okay? You can't add more than two.
They-theming. Said the
Hot
verb.
or cold.
All right. Question coming your way, Brittney, because we're digressing here.
Okay.
What strategies and suggestions do you have when our children's grandparents constantly criticize our parenting and want to see us issuing more consequences in parentheses, i.e. punishing them whenever our children act up or make mistakes? We are trying to parent the best way we can based on the philosophies of Kylo and Unpunishable, but our children's grandparents, or our parents, feel that they have invested a lot of their lives in our children and feel they have a say in how they are raised. This is most apparent with our almost 18-year-old who wants to spread her wings but isn't always making the best choices and needs guidance. Please and thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit in the honor and respect, and but I would get to. It sounds like your parents need something. They feel scared by something, and so they need something. So if you can get to what it is that they need rather than what it is that you feel by them, you feel controlled, or you feel like you're disappointing them, or whatever's going on, I think that there's a need that they've got to feel like their opinion is welcomed or heard. And you don't have, again, the goal isn't that you agree. The goal is that you understand. I totally understand, Mom. You're right. That's totally how you and Dad did it when we were kids. I don't know if you realize, but the experience I had in that season was pretty painful. I didn't feel really close to you. Well, I didn't experience it that way. And I don't expect you to experience it that way. I think the thing I'm trying to cultivate here is a little bit of it, more empowerment. And, it's scary watching our 18-year-old grow up because she's, I don't know what she's thinking. But this is where she has to learn, and I can't rescue her from everything. So I think it has to be an open conversation and being able to hear what it is that they need. Listening better than somebody's talking. Again, looking for understanding rather than agreement. And maybe they want agreement and they don't care how you say it. So you're going to have to figure out, thanks for letting us know. I think we're going to go this way. And what are they going to say? No, you can't. And then they're going to be hit with, yes, we are. Would you like to still be engaged with us as we move forward with this? Or did you not want to know about these things as we move forward with it? I mean, those are the choices. So, you don't have to do what your parents say. And you get to have them engaged as much as you want. Again, I'd be looking at what is it that they need and how do we lean into this? But, if they're becoming a bully, then I would probably give some feedback and not invite them. If they say, well, we pay for, let's say they are a motocross. We pay for the motorcycle, so we think that she should have straight A's before she's able to get on there. Okay, well, thank you for that feedback. Well, we're not paying for it unless she gets straight A's. I don't think that's the same goal we have for her at 18 because she's graduating this year. Well, you can tell her that. Well, you're more than welcome to tell her that because you're right. We're not paying for the motocross. So you can let her know that that's what you need from her, and we'll let her decide what she wants to do with that information. I mean, that's how I would handle that. If I felt like I couldn't pay for the motocross that she does or something like that, I'm making things up at this point because I don't really know the situation, but it could be cool that she's doing motocross. I doubt it, but
what's her name?
Max.
Max, the motocross 18-year-old girl.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, I just keep thinking about the parents the grandparents potentially also scared that you're missing something. Like you're not thinking about this thing. And the punishment or the way they did it is going to cover the bases. And you probably are thinking about it. You're just doing it differently. So the open conversation Brittney's describing could even clear up some of that discrepancy or the gap right now in your communication is they think you're not thinking about it. So they think they're being helpful. Mm-hmm. But the communication and the understanding is going to actually clear it up and go, no, we are thinking about it. We're just not doing it the way you would.
Yeah.
So this is how we're going to handle it. Is there anything else that you think she's needing?
Yeah.
And then we can implement it the way we think it needs to happen. But you're welcome to add strength if you're going to do it in a helpful way.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure the grandparents have their own relationship with Maxine because I've made her up in my head now.
The motocrosser.
Yeah. And, and I would be encouraging that conversation with her and them. If they feel that they're going to withhold something that they're paying for or they're investing in. And same with the other kids. Like I would be like, if that's what you need to be able to help us have this dream become fulfilled, you're welcome to have that conversation, but we won't be having that conversation. You're welcome to put that requirement, but we will not be putting that requirement. It's all the more empowerment. You're welcome to do that. And if the kids don't do it, then the kids' consequences as grandma and grandpa aren't going to pay for Maxine's motocross anymore.
And Adrian, the 12-year-old.
I've been saying the kids now. So I think that's how I would approach that. Empower the grandparents, value what they're saying. The goal is understanding, or it is understanding, not agreement. And there's a need in there.
Yeah. And feedback doesn't have to equal control.
Yeah. Or you're evil.
Yeah. I've noticed this in my own life with friends once. They gave me feedback and they thought that meant that I had to now do what they said, which it doesn't. Feedback is I'm gonna take it into account. I'm gonna put that in my thinker and my planner, that becomes a part of my process, it doesn't mean I have to do it the way you said.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a hard conversation, especially with parents who feel like they've poured their life out for you
Sure.
and now they're owed something.
Yeah.
Common conversation.
It's true.
Which leads us to...
It always leads us to, at this point.
Always.
Always.
Our sponsor. But we do want to mention it before we move on because we're thankful for them and they're doing something very unique.
I think I'm
very
also
special.
thankful for the service that they are providing families out of their own experience of they need something. Like, there's lots of, I think a lot of baby gear that's invented comes from, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
This would have saved my life.
I almost invented a sippy cup. A few years later, the one I invented came out.
Yeah.
Invented meaning it was in my head.
Yeah.
But
So, Rinse for Baby, they have come up with this idea from their own experience.
Their own pain.
And then, partnering with other parents that they have in other cities and states. It's just beautiful. It for me, it kind of puts the creativity of the Lord on display of like what's possible when you let him show up and do different things. Like, who would have thought? I would have never thought you could rent baby gear, or even like, I don't know how many times we've had friends come to our house from out of town that have a child, and I'm struggling to find something to put them in. We have put infants on the floor on a camping mat because that's all I can find. But if we knew about Rinse for Babies, we could have very much provided a crib for them and different gear that I didn't have. I know now. So when it happens again, I know I'm coming for you, Rinse for Baby. So
and part of the reason we're pulling these guys in and saying yes to this partnership is we want you to experience the level of excellence that they bring to their belief, their dream, what they're doing, their mission in. Hopefully soon they'll be in all 50 states. I think they're getting closer and closer. So pretty exciting. So to go check it out, to learn more, or to actually use their service, rentsforbaby.com and promo code Imperfect Parenting to show us you're an Ipster. You can get 10% off and possibly a hug from Brittney.
Something like that. I don't know how I agree to all that, but yes, there's just more and more hugs I'm giving out as Ben talks about things. So it's all right. All right, let's talk about
You're funny.
Leading our kids from vision.
Let's do it.
When we talk about this right here, I think about a couple different verses, and I also think how much I want my children to grow up and be contributors to this world. I want them to have value for themselves. I want them to be aware of themselves. I want them to have high standards. I want them to do things with excellence. I want them to have moral character. I am describing a 1 on the Enneagram because that is what I am. But that is the things I care so deeply about, is that they grow up to be adults that contribute to this world. And a huge part of that, in my mind, is our ability to lead them with vision. That it's not that you're just 12 and I'm leading you. It's that someday you're going to leave my home and you're going to become a father. You're going to become a husband. You're going to become a brother-in-law or sister-in-law. You're going to expand your own kingdom. You're going to be an employee. And there's all these things that they're going to become as an adult. Hopefully run a company. You're going to be a leader in other spheres. There's just all these pieces that I want them to be aware of, and I have to lead them bigger than 12 years old or 2 years old. And so these I'll talk about these 3 verses that I think about when we're leading from a place of vision. First one is Deuteronomy 6:7. It says, "You shall teach them diligently to your children, and they shall talk about them. And you should talk about them when you sit up in your house and when you walk by, when you lay down, when you rise." This is just talking about the promises of God, who God is, that He is almighty. He's the only God worthy out of all gods. He is the God that is worthy of all praise. So the fact that doesn't ever go quiet in our home, I think that's really important to me. I think that's leading from vision requires me to do that. The next one is in Proverbs 6:22. which I'm just now realizing these are all in chapter 6. That's kind of funny. Proverbs 6:22 says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. I read that, and I'm not just stuck on speaking scripture or showing them the relationship that they could have with the Lord. I think that's a huge part of this. And it's also that I am guiding them. I'm showing them what's the character of God. How are we supposed to emulate Christ? Like, how are we supposed to show up and be this presence that is different than everyone else in the room? That the Father is reflected in how we show up. I think that's part of this for me. And then kind of the stewardship of doing this well and managing myself as a parent is in Ephesians 6. As fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Mm-hmm. Rather, bring them up with discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. So it's just, here we've got the Old Testament and the New Testament weaving together the beauty of training up our children and leading them from a place of vision.
Yeah.
And how we want them to just live in this place of, I'm not just stuck in this one little moment of you. It's almost not looking at your feet, but looking up at the sky.
Yeah.
Like I'm able to be present and engaged here in this moment and see what's happening. And so I want to lead from a place of vision rather than I'm stuck with this 2-year-old. But I'm thinking about you when you're going to be 22.
I forget where it is right now. It's towards the very end of the Old Testament where it talks about write the vision down plainly.
In Habakkuk?
That's right.
2:2.
Habakkuk 2. It talks about write it down plainly so they can run. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of this too, is you have to have it written on your heart first. You know, you're starting out a family, whether they're 2 years old or 20. Mm-hmm. What's the vision that you see today? How clear is it? Take some time and actually dream with the Lord. Where does this family meant to be going? What's the gifts on my children's life that I'm supposed to help steward to lead them towards the thing that we're called to, that they're called to, that God has for them? And I want to begin to write that down plainly and set it out there so they can run. Because I want them to run way further than I ever did.
Totally. Blow me out of the water, baby.
Blow me out of the water, baby.
Let's go.
So I think this is just such an important piece because we talk to a lot of parents who feel like they're just trying to survive. And there's absolutely those seasons when I forget. I dropped the vision. I couldn't find it for a few days. Sure. It's been hard.
You know, the Israelites were idiots for like forever. So if we've got a few years in there, I'm pretty sure we're fine.
We're doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
But I'm always getting back to vision. I'm not staying in survival. You know, this is the Caleb and Joshua in comparison to the rest of the tribe leaders, right? Mm-hmm. Is that they wanted to stay in survival.
Yeah,
let's go back to Egypt. That's scary over there. And they're like, this is the vision that God laid out for us all those years ago.
Right.
And we can now see it. It's now plain. Why wouldn't we go take it?
Yeah. This is why we have to talk about it all the time because everyone seems to be forgetting. Yeah. Which, I mean, if you look at the world today, our nation is still Christian, but it's kind of muddled out there. And it's because we haven't been talking about it for a while. And when that gets quiet, it gets quiet everywhere.
Yep.
I had this, I read this really great quote. I love Atomic Habits was a book that came out years ago. Now, James Clear, I get his emails, which I think are super clever how they are written. It's called 3-2-1. I love it. It's brilliant. But he put a quote in there and he said, guilt lives in the past. Worry lives in the future. Peace lives in the present. And when I read that and preparing for this, I thought, wow, that feels so beautiful to, you know, if I look back, I am consumed by all of my regret of what I could have done. If I'm looking to the future, I'm almost removing God from what he said he's going to do. So what he wants me to do is he wants me to do a beautiful job stewarding the season that I'm in right now, which is this present moment, and there's going to be peace. Now, James Clear didn't write all of that in there. I don't know if he's a Christian or not, but that's knowing who God is and then reading that. I'm like, that's how I want to lead, and that's how I want to lead with vision.
Yeah. As we were preparing for this too, I started thinking about The Croods.
Oh yeah,
The movie The Croods.
yeah, that's a good one.
If you haven't seen it, it's a cute little movie about cavemen. Essentially, it's bigger than that. But there's one scene where the dad is he's essentially leading his family from fear.
Oh, the whole movie.
Yeah, it's true. He starts getting some breakthrough towards the end.
And die.
But he's leading his family from fear. So they're in the cave. His daughter has just gone exploring, and he is just freaked out because new things and exploring and trying something new means dead. And he does this whole speech to them about, if you try anything new, you're going to die. And it's just this great example. It's kind of a silly, cute example. Cute's the wrong word, but silly example of fear keeps us stuck in the same place, not growing. But vision, though it can be scary, keeps us growing and moving towards the things we're called to and what's new and really discovering new things that's inside of us. So I think as parents, we have to first settle that thing in our own heart. Like, I have people around me that are calling me up, calling me out, keeping me moving towards my own vision. And then I'm doing that for my family. Is we are going somewhere.
We are, and the hope I have for you is that you're realizing that every single family has a culture. And we have something that's happening in our family, and are we the leaders of this culture, or are we people that settle? Which means that we are letting someone else lead the culture, whether it is what's happening on the news or what's happening in pop culture or our grandparents. Like, there's choices to not be the leaders of your culture, and when you choose to not be the leaders, you choose to be a settler, which means you stay put. And that's not the design that God has for our family. Is when He puts us in this place as a father or mother, He has asked us to steward what we've been given. And to steward that means I have to lead that. Means I have to dream about that. Means I have to be intentional. And I have to do what's required for me to face all kinds of fear and go out there and make waves.
Lainey called us recently. Delaney, we were somewhere traveling, I think, and she had a hard conversation with her boyfriend, and the way it went for her, she was like, it's all going to fall apart now. It's not going to go well. And
I love that girl.
She just needed to get it out for a minute, and she's going to be okay.
Enneagram 4.
Enneagram 4.
Always.
But the conversation ended up going towards, Delaney, what are you building for you? What do you want your family to look like one day? Whether it's with this guy or not. And it might not be. We don't know right now. But down the road, what are you building towards? What are you dreaming about? Well, it's just going to be so hard. Lainey, I get it. I know. But we have to find a place of vision to begin to move towards something rather than just try not to have something happening to us. And that was a conversation we had, and you could feel it shift inside of her as she starts thinking about, okay, you're right. I'm not living from vision right now. I'm just trying to survive this moment.
Which that just puts on display our ability to be leaders of vision so that we can inspire our kids to be leaders from vision. So, all right, Ipsters, go be leaders.
Go, Ipsters, go.
From vision. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.